issue with calling it that when you have an
Mi hija
individual
le ha dado
or
ahora
people that purposely
porque
target a
está haciendo
group
no sé qué un
or
documental o algún video
a set of
especial de no
people
sé qué
for
cosa.
specific reasons,
Entonces
ideological
cada vez que me
reasons.
miro para algún
Let's
lado me
call
está
it what it
grabando
is.
a perros, aquí
Anti-terrorism
todo está grabando. O sea, en este momento estoy hablando contigo y me está grabando.
Or any other clinic that may be going on.
Es una ridiculez, no me puedo, no sé, tengo que tener cuidado cuando vaya al baño, no vaya a ser que me esté grabando en el baño también.
Stop videotaping me. She's doing some project for her school and she keeps videotaping me and I don't want to be on tape.
It's the Make Fun of Your Parents project.
نگاه کن من چه بی پروا به مرز قصه های کهنه می تازم نگاه کن با چه سرسختی تو این سرما برای عشق یه فصل تازه می سازم Kimbara kumbara kumba kimbamba kimbara kumbara kumba kimbamba kimbara kumbara kumba kimbamba kimbara kumbara kumba kimbamba eh mama eh mama eh mama eh mama.
I lived in a farm in a country town, very small town.
What was the town called?
La Salud. So I was a country boy most of my youth. Grew up on my grandfather's farm, which is where I was born.
I was born in the U.S. and I went back with my parents when I was a year old. And we lived in Iran for about 10 years until the revolution. We just had a normal life like anybody else would have had in the U.S. A house, a pretty house, animals, dogs.
My grandfather was a farm owner, agriculture, in my opinion, an expert in agriculture. So he was rich. My grandfather, he had not been all his life. He was born a very poor boy.
And on my mother's side, her family, they were all in the military. That was the Iranian army. That was, my mom's father was a general in the army. It was almost overnight. 1 month, we were afraid to come to school without wearing or carrying scarves in our bags because they were throwing acid in the faces of young girls who weren't wearing scarves or veils. They wanted to turn it into a complete Islamic republic.
My family's relationship to the government was very much anti the previous government because the previous government was the other extreme, was a right-wing dictatorship. Well, it was, as a kid, it was very exciting because it was all a celebration, a revolution. Immediately they started recruiting kids to become pioneers, which was like the Boy Scouts, but a lot more militant, a lot more sort of like military training and a lot of indoctrination. That's what they used to sort of indoctrinate the kids to follow and be devoted communists. And my parents, I wanted to join because all my buddies were doing it, and my parents never let me. And so that was a lot of friction there because all my buddies wanted to know why it was that, and I couldn't really say no because my parents are against the government. Even at 11, you understand the difference between freedom and dictatorship. So it was all a secret until the very last minute. I was never able to say goodbye to anybody, all my friends or anybody.
Wow.
I just disappeared one day.
My father had just come back from the American embassy, and he said that some kids on the corner told him, "You better stop wearing shorts here. You're not in America anymore, and you better watch it." And he said, "We're leaving, and we're leaving like now in the next month."
Gladys, my Aunt Gladys, her boyfriend, his name was Osvaldo. Osvaldo was like my uncle-to-be. He was engaged to marry my aunt, and he left to go fight in the mountains and never saw him again. So when I was a little boy, I had that image of this guy who I knew went to fight with the guerrillas and never came home. In fact, he was captured and tortured, from what we understand.
My uncle, the general, you met him, They tortured him. They tortured a lot of people. He actually fled through the mountains. We came out before the revolution, but when the revolution happened in '79 in February, a lot of people couldn't come out.
In those days, you had to have somebody in the United States claiming you. We had to get in through a third country. Someone in the family had to get in first and then claim the rest of us. And so we sent two emissaries. We sent my brother and my uncle. They went to Jamaica and they stayed there. I think they were there for 3 or 4 months. And until they got a visa at the U.S. Embassy in Jamaica to come to the United States as refugees. And that's how they got in.
The day we left was, it was dark, and we left sort of early in the morning. I can't remember if it was night or early in the morning, but it was dark, and I remember driving through the streets and seeing the protesters on the other side and hearing them, and tear gas. And we just kept going.
The Cubans call it the fish tank. Fish tank is the waiting room at the Havana airport, where you sit and wait for the airport. Even to the last minute, most people are leaving without telling their friends. And certainly that was the case for my family. So here I am, an 11-year-old kid. We sat in the fish tank and we faced the airplanes, and my parents told me, don't look back. So just in case someone might be walking behind us in that hallway and might recognize us and might still at the last minute spoil our leaving. I'm walking toward the plane, and one of my parents finally, I guess, looked back, and they said it's okay now, you look back. And there was this very, very skinny lady who I remember as my teacher. She had been one of my teachers in my hometown. Apparently she was there to say goodbye to someone else. But she spotted us as we were leaving, and she was so happy that we were leaving. She was like this, with both arms and all that. So, and then I waved at her, and I remember crying because she was my teacher. 3 changes of clothes. That's what we were allowed to bring. 3 pants, 3 shirts, 3 underwear, 3 socks, whatever.
And nothing else?
And nothing else.
You left your dogs there?
Yeah, we had to leave our dogs, but we had somebody who worked for us, and he took over the house. He took over our house, and he took care of the dogs. I'm happy. I love the United States. I think even when the money didn't even matter to us one bit, for me it was all about being in America. And I just had this vision of America. It was free, and it was where I wanted to be. I always had that vision of that house with the white picket fence.
I'm really grateful that my parents brought me here. I could be dead, or I could be in jail, or I could be miserable. But those are probably the 3 choices.
Yeah.
But I was lucky enough that my parents saw the need very early on. It was my mother. My mother convinced the whole family. She said, we got to get the hell out of here. Imagine you having to convince your whole family now that we have to leave the United States and go to another country where we don't even speak the language. And start again. Because we knew we were going to be broke here.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was a really, really tough decision that they made, and a huge sacrifice that they made for all of us.
La rumba me está llamando, bongo